Transition awareness breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition awareness breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. Welcome back, and today I would like to challenge us to use two mindfulness skills that we have talked about: kindness and compassion. And I would like for us to use these mindfulness skills in a way that will help us with the topic that I'm going to talk about during our podcast today. I would like to use our mindfulness tools to discuss how to deal with microaggression. Have you ever heard of the term microaggression? Well, let's break it down. Micro meaning very small, and then aggression meaning behavior, actions, words which intentionally or unintentionally causes harm or injury. And so microaggression are usually words, behaviors, actions that are said to a population, usually in a minority population, race, gender, religion, population, that is said to express some bias, negativity, and sometimes the person who, or people or organization that's expressing the microaggression, sometimes they are aware and sometimes they are not. So I'm a visual person, and I think of the term microaggression as, sometimes words or actions are kind of packaged in a way where they're not very obvious. But, when you peel away the intention of what's being said, is it curiosity or is it trying to breed negativity? Your body begins to react to those expressions of microaggression through stress. And so what prompted me to choose this topic of microaggression was a nursing journal that I received, and it talked about microaggression in nursing. I thought, yep, I can see that. I've experienced it. Now, I'll share a few examples, not many, because I think that we all have to pull from our experiences and from our environment. But if it's still kind of hazy, I definitely want to make it clear. And I think part of using our mindfulness skills is being aware of the intention of microaggression and also being aware of our response to what's being said. Now, here's the mindfulness part. Our reaction to microaggression we don't allow the stress and frustration to build up and begin to cause us physical, mental, or spiritual harm. So that's what got me on this topic of microaggression. So let's begin. I'm gonna take a chance here, and I'm going to, because I want us to have a clear understanding. So I'm going to share some of my personal experience right now, a couple of stories, and so that we can learn from it. My experience with my professional life was when I was in the Navy. I was brand new Navy Nurse Corps officer. Had already finished nursing school. I finished the Navy officers training school, and I was really excited, and I was very nervous because I didn't want to not only harm anybody, I didn't want to cause embarrassment, in our Navy environment. I had finished orientation, and it was my first time being one of the team leaders. And if you're in the medical field or in nursing, what that means is that you have about 24 to 30 patients that you're managing and working with other people. Okay? And so, it's my first time. And I remember I had a new admission. And as the nurse on the team, I was responsible for going and doing the admission, talking to the patient, asking, the assessment questions, is that what we call them. And there was an older lady. The person I had to talk to was an older lady. And she looked at me, and I looked at her. I smiled. I said, hello. And I introduced myself. And she looked at me, and she said that she wanted to talk to the nurse. And I said I was the nurse. I was certainly dressed in my uniform, which showed, I was an officer, I was a nurse, and I introduced myself as the nurse. And she asked me, some questions. It was some personal questions. I didn't understand why she was asking me these questions. She asked, what church I went to, and I, my mind was not on religion. My mind was on admitting this lady so I can get to my other work. And so, I answered her question. I did not go to church, and she said that I couldn't take care of her. And I said, okay. I went and got the other nurse, because that's the patient's right to refuse care from whatever. And it would be really busy, and I got the other nurse who was more experienced, explained to he was a gentleman, a male nurse, that, this patient refused my care, and I told him the questions that she asked me, and he said, that's weird. And so we did a swap of teams, and I took care of his patients. He took care of the lady who I was admitting. And now, so I want to put a pause on that story, because as I was doing the research, it said that, racism is a topic where microaggression occurs. And I can totally see that. However, what was different about this situation is that the lady was African American. So I can say whether it's racism exists in races, in cultures, and also if it's a bias in religion, that also occurs within different cultures, because I didn't fit her idea of an African American nurse for her. And so I learned from that. It really took me back, but I really had to learn from that. And I maintain respect. That was her right. And so, we can call that whatever. I felt that, in my opinion, that was a little bit of a microaggression. But several years now, since I've learned about mindfulness, I think I still did the right thing and just let her feel comfortable with someone else to take care of. But oftentimes, when we get a comment that kind of turns us a little bit, one of the recommendation is to address, what the microaggression, what the meaning is, and just to use reflective statements. And so reflective statements means to just use the person's word, so actually you're kind of like repeating what the person is saying. In my instance, and this is exactly what I did, because this is what we were taught, I just repeated her, I want to be clear that you are wanting someone else to care for you. And that she validated it, and she was not speaking anymore. Her conversations became very short and curt. And it's one thing that, I felt is I didn't want to interfere with her care. So that's on a professional level. And I think in nursing, and I totally understand why I got that article from my nursing journal, because it does exist, and we have to learn how to deal with that, because we're taking care of people. Often our colleagues, or we call them our colleagues, are maybe expressing microaggression. For example, if there's a female doctor coming in a lab coat, and the patients say, "Where's the doctor?" And they kind of assume this is a nurse, or a male nurse will be in a clinical situation, and they refer to the male nurse as the doctor. We see that a lot, and there's a lot of actions and reflections on how we should deal with that, because our goal is to give the best care to our patients and help them and guide them to wellness. That's our goal. How about mindfulness? How does that fit? When we're categorized and we don't fit someone's category, I suggest to remember that that person is the one who is trying to fit a person into a box. We are not what another person thinks. However, because of lack of experience or family cultures or whatever, they're coming from a perspective of their environment. And so a lot of times I like to approach it with a curious point of view. One of my Facebook posts in my transition awareness, when I first brought up my page, and I posted some of my first podcast, and someone commented about I guess the way I speak is not really common to what they were expecting. And so they wrote a interesting little comment there, and I just had to laugh that we're all different, we're raised different, we have different levels of experience and education. And so when someone is trying to fit a person in a box or fit someone in a category, and in order for them to validate their aggression or their idea, I think there's a belief that they have to share that. one more example, and I'm going to share an example that I am guilty of, in my own family. And I think it's part of awareness, and I think with awareness, we have to see things as they are right now. Because when we don't, we contribute to a negative environment, an environment that doesn't allow for growth. So here's my last example. My son was playing the piano a few weeks ago, and okay, I'll get to the point last, but I'll just share. My son was playing the piano, and it sounded beautiful. Oh my goodness! I thought, who is that playing the piano? And so, I was so surprised. I thought is that my daughter playing? And when I peeked around the corner and I saw that it was Zachariah playing, I was floored. I said, Zachariah, is that you? Now, just that statement. Now, it may seem, kind of encouraging, but I have to say, I think that was a bit of a microaggression, because I expected him to play in the mechanical, robotic, monotone way he had always been playing. And, when he's with his piano teacher, Rosalia, hi Rosalia, she has been working with him. And so I hadn't really heard him put his piece together except for that night. And I'm just amazed. So, my comment, my sense of doubt, and my thought that, he's going to play like the same way he had been. I think that, especially for a child, with like Zachariah, he may say, why should I even try to play well if I'm just expected just to play like I usually play? You see how microaggression through ignorance or, just not thinking could really stifle a person's growth. So we also have to be aware of how we're saying things and what we're saying. Sometimes, if we're joking around with each other and with our family or our friends, I think that's the best time to kind of monitor, are we communicating any kind of microaggression statements or actions? Because sometimes, we have to be the examples, because other people will look at us and think that, well, that must be okay, especially if they do not know what is being said is considered microaggression. They may be saying things or mimicking what's being said in your group, and because they want to fit in. Does that make sense? So in summary, being aware what microaggression is, small comments, actions, intentions that are said to be hurtful or to just not be positive, either to a minority group based on race, religion, gender. We should be mindful and be a good example. In this day of age, when there's a perception that, we have freedom of speech and I get to say whatever I want to, I think if we really want a free country, I think we have to allow the freedom to be positive. I think the freedom of negativity, I don't think that's freedom. I think that's highly destructive. And I think it's part of a bullying behavior, and bullying is not freedom. Sorry, if people disagree, that's okay. With positivity and with the skills of allowing everyone to have the right to speak in a clear and a positive way, it stimulates creativity, it helps solve problems, and it doesn't exclude people. Now, with that being said, so what do? Do we just not say anything? Do we walk around with duct tape on our mouth and just let our emotions just kind of fester inside? Of course not. I think the brave thing, it may be kind of hard at first, but someone says something and you take it as kind of, what did you just say? Is to reflect. And here's the mindfulness part, you guys, is to bring in the kindness, to reflect with kindness. And reflection means just to use the other person's words, what they said, not your words, not your summation, not your analysis, but just reflect on the words that they said. And maybe if you can just ask the person exactly, what did you mean? And tell me more. And really don't expect the person to change, but you can let them have time to express what they meant, what they said, and if you take it and it's really not appropriate, to let them know, well, thank you for sharing, but I really find that offensive, or I think that was very inappropriate, but thank you for sharing. And oftentimes, a lot of times people don't know. I would say the majority of times when people say something and that can be termed microaggression, I think it's sometimes done out of ignorance. The other small percent of times when it's said intentionally, I think that the people don't really expect you to say anything so they can get away with it. And so when we can calmly and compassionately address what a person is saying, it slows their communication down. Will they continue to be microaggressive? I don't know. But maybe one step at a time, we can change how people are talking within our atmosphere, in our circle. And in the same time, we're teaching, we're using this as a teaching opportunity. So thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate you listening to my podcast. Thank you so much. Share the podcast that your favorite ones, or this one, I hope it's your favorite one, but share it with your family and friends. I really am trying to make my podcast more appealing and more relevant to what's going on now. And so, as you can see, I change my environment. I always try to, go somewhere different or something like that. I'm not stuck in my office. But if I have to be in the office, I will. So if I can invite you to participate in a practice with me, and I'm going to take my face off the screen and ask you to allow yourself to get into a comfortable position. As you are getting yourself comfortable in your comfortable position, in your comfortable spot, I think it's important to realize and to be in touch with our feelings and our emotions. And also, using our mindfulness skills to know that, when someone says something and it comes across aggressive, whether microaggression or macroaggression, that in our mind, we're going to keep ourselves in a state of calmness and taking a big breath in and blowing it out, and to release that. Don't keep it. Don't keep it, blow it out. Now that you're in your comfortable position, you can either close your eyes or keep it open, or find something to gaze at is okay as well. And bring your attention to your breath, paying attention to the movement of your body, and as you breathe in and as you blow out. And I'm aware that there may be distractions and distracting noises around us, and I think this is good, because especially in my program, Transition Awareness Breathing, what we do is we're learning how to move through the distractions, and we're going to focus in on our breath, so much so that will be our goal, is to focus in on our breath and to focus in on an imagery. And so in your mind's eye, imagine that you're driving on the highway, and the highway that you're driving, it was pretty clear. Nice open roads, blue skies, beautiful day. And you're enjoying the drive. Breathe in and blow out. However, as you're driving, maybe the traffic is getting a little bit heavy, and there's some drivers that may be driving in ways that is not agreeable with you. However, we know we have to continue to drive in our lane, and we must continue to maintain the speed limit. And so we're going to let those drivers just drive by. We're not going to try to chase them. We're going to let that distractor, we're going to let them go. We're going to breathe in and blow out. Because we don't know why the reason why they're driving. Maybe there's an emergency. Maybe it's a new driver. They're a new to driving, new skills on the highway. And so we're not going to pass judgment, but we're going to just continue on our drive and find the beauty around us. We're paying attention to the movement of our breath. And now I invite you to pay attention to your feelings, your emotions, and realize this thought, that what you're thinking, what other people think of you, is a thought. And thoughts are not realities. It's a thought, it's an opinion. What is a reality is you right now. And we can use our words to bring reality, to bring clear thoughts out of our mind into the environment. And so we want to be able to properly represent the true person who we are. So we're going to be very selective in our word toolbox. And we're going to express our words. So if we come across a person and they intentionally or unintentionally express something that may come across to us as microaggression, that we can use clear words, consciously kind and compassionate words. And in that second that we have that interaction, that we're not going to ruminate on their lack of awareness. Because remember, you're the one with the mindfulness skills. You're the one that's going to walk away from the interaction calmly. You're the one that is lowering your blood pressure, lowering your blood sugar. You're the one that knows that building up stress and ruminating over words that are said in ignorance is not worth the loss of health. And so you're going to choose your words and use your breath, and in kindness and compassion, when you ask that person, you're visualizing this now, just to repeat and just reflect their words, because see, it's their words. And their words, as you repeat and you do this reflective exercise with them, it's like a shield. What they say is going to go back to them. You ever thought about that? It works very nicely. But the secret or the goal is you must remain calm. If you let their aggression in the microaggression cause you to be aggressive, it won't work. You have to maintain the calmness. As you kind of ponder that thought, just remember your breath. Breathing in and blowing out. And now, as we end our exercise right now, take a big cleansing breath in and blow it out, and realize you handled that very, very well. Good for you. Great job. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again next time.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Eartha's new book, Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy, unlock new creative paths, transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.